Sometimes reviewing games is hard. Not because the games are hard to play through or because there isn't much to say about the game. No, this isn't the problem. Sometimes there's just too much to say about the game and you have no idea where to start. This is the problem I have with Observer. In this game, you play Daniel Lazarski, who is an observer, which is some kind of mind police in post-apocalyptic sci-fi Poland. Dan is voiced by the Dutch actor Rutger Hauer, and maybe it's the best to let him explain the premise of the game.
The year is 2084. If they told me what the world will become, I would not have believed them. First, there was the nanophage, the disease of transition, a digital plague that swept across the land, killing thousands upon thousands of augmented souls. A heavy cost for meddling with our minds and bodies. Then came the war, the big one, the great decimation. The West killed the East killed the West. There were no winners. Except for Cairo. The corporation seized power and forged the Fifth Polish Republic, a crooked empire of blood and ash. There was no one left to oppose them. But still, we endured, and so it goes. The rich get richer as the poor rot away in their hovels, desperately looking for ways to escape reality. I am what they fear, a corporate tool of oppression, a despised leech that creeps into your dreams and feeds of your fears. If you don't remember, if you won't remember, that's when they call me, to access you. To gather evidence, to dredge up whatever's hiding in the darkest corners of your mind. My name is Daniel Lazarski. I'm an observer.
In the beginning of the game, Dan wakes up in his car. He has a massive hangover as someone who seems to be his handler calls him to check on him to see if he's ready for a new case. Then, unexpectedly, he gets a call from his estranged son, Adam, who seems to be in trouble. Dan traces the call to an apartment building on the bad side of town, and when he arrives at the right apartment, he finds a decapitated body. Is this Adam? The main goal of Observer is to find out what happened to Adam, and to get out of the building. Because just after Dan entered the apartment, the whole block got quarantined. You do this by asking people for clues, looking through the environment, finding objects and scan them with your built-in scanners. The game plays kind of like a point-and-click adventure in these parts. Apart from the ability to scan the environment, Dan has also another ability. He can connect to the minds of other persons. Sometimes even dead people. Here you find out how twisted a person's mind can be. The environment changes constantly and sometimes you get literally chased by someone's demons. This part of the game is more or less a modern horror game like Layers of Fear or Amnesia. And these environments are something I should highlight. Whoa, Observer has such beautiful and detailed graphics. There's roughly only one location, the apartment block, but it really looks and feels like a lived-in block. Everything is so detailed and almost like it's modeled after an existing location. This is how photorealistic it is. On the other hand, the character models are not so well done, and neither are some of the dream locations, which tend to be a bit barren. These locations are only visited once, so I didn't mind that the detail was scaled back a bit. Then the voices. As said before, Dan is played by an experienced Hollywood actor, namely Rutger Hauer. Hauer played in movies like Blade Runner, Sin City, Batman Begins, pretty big movies. Now he is in his 70s and he sounds old and tired, but that's exactly what the character of Daniel Lazarski needs. In my opinion, it was one of the stronger points of the game, because even though sometimes it felt like Hauer didn't want to be there, this was the mood that Dan was in as well. He just wanted to find his son and get the hell out of the building, away from his strange inhabitants. The other voices are done great as well. In Observer you talk a lot, and even though most of the conversations are not face to face, the voice work is great, and you really have the feeling that every person has personality. And the music? To be honest, I didn't remember anything about the music. This isn't really a bad thing, it's just that the music is great to create an atmosphere, but isn't memorable for listening separately. It doesn't have the hook, so to say. When I listen back, the soundtrack has some really nice details. You are in an apartment block with a lot of other people and relatively thin walls, so you can hear dance music and other common sounds in the background if you listen closely. Observer has a lot of things going for it, especially for me personally. I love the part in the block. I currently live in an Eastern European apartment block as well, and even though mine is much nicer, I can totally imagine how to live in a block like this. I understand that if you live in the USA or in Australia, it can be harder to imagine, but people really live in these kind of circumstances. A big critique point was that most of the dialogues are done via the intercoms of the tenants and that you don't really see them, but I personally didn't have any problems with this. The inhabitants sound and feel alive. They have personality even without knowing how they actually look like. Besides that, the character models aren't that well done anyway. Observer grabbed me and didn't let me go. Usually this is a good thing, but in this case it has a big downside as well. I couldn't play Observer for a long period of time because it was seriously scary. The whole time I played it, I felt some kind of pressure, some alertness that you only have when you know that you are in a bad situation. I will try and explain why. In most games you have a sense of control, that you can figure out what comes next. With an Observer, you never really know what is behind the corner. Usually it is nothing and there are very little jump scares, but when something happens, it's scary. And because Observer is set in a sort of familiar environment for me, it made it worse. I had to take frequent breaks from an hour or so to catch some breath and calm my nerves. This is pretty intense for a game that was not per se made as a horror game. So it took a long while before I finished this game. That doesn't mean that I didn't enjoy my time though. The story is great with a twist that I didn't see coming. Although it's a bit unfortunate that you cannot really influence the ending with the exception of a choice at the very end of the game, other than that moment, it doesn't really matter. I also would have liked a bit more side quests and environments. But I think it's a good sign that I just wanted more of a game that I struggled to finish and that's not set up as a very big game. You can compare Observer with Deus Ex or maybe with Dishonored, but not really with Layered of Fear or Gone Home, even though the latter two are more similar in setup. Maybe this is because the world building is done so well. All the text of the game is in Polish and Observer never really breaks the illusion of the world that is created. There's no magic, everything is logic in the context of the world that is created, and because the game starts outside of the apartment block, you have the feeling that there is a whole world to explore. But in another game, I hope. Oh, I almost forgot to say something about the dream sequences. These I did not enjoy as much as the parts in the real world. Not because they were not creative, because some of the dreams were seriously twisted and original, but more because I thought these were less engaging. Your only goal was to get to the end of the area. In the end of the game, the reality and the dream are mixed a bit and things get a little more interesting though. So yeah, I like Observer, and I think it is a way better game than the average indie game or walking simulator. The world building and the graphics are top notch and the story is thought-provoking. On the other hand, there isn't that much gameplay and the replay value is not so great. So, I would recommend Observer if you like a story-driven game and if you are not put off by scary moments in a game. Oof, this is my review about Observer and yes, it was way overdue. Great game though. So, tomorrow I will go on holiday for a few days, so I will take a small break from my videos, but soon I will continue with the God of War series. What series would you like me to look at next? Let me know in the comments and please share, subscribe and support me. Have a nice day!